From footage of mermaid-like creatures washed up on shore to stories of encounters with aggressive water creatures in Zimbabwe, these are real mermaid sightings deep-sea fishermen can't explain. Always cool seeing what washes up on shore at the beach, isn't it? Unless, of course, it looks like this. This is a pretty horrifying image, real or not, and I gotta say it does look pretty realistic. You'll notice the creature's jaw even moves slightly like it's breathing or attempting to breathe. Whatever it is, it doesn't look like it's doing very well health-wise. I think there are a lot of people who kinda wish mermaids and mermen were real. You know, beautiful people gliding through the water, singing pretty songs at night, luring sailors down into the dark, brackish depths of the sea, never to be seen again. I would not be getting lured anywhere by this ugly monstrosity, though. So this is a very strange video. Supposedly it comes out of Kenya, but I've heard it coming from other parts of Africa too, so I'm not 100% certain. In the video we clearly see what looks to be a young mermaid-like being washed up on a beach surrounded by onlookers. It's clear that the supposed mermaid is actually on camera. I mean, this is a real person. The question is whether they're a real mermaid or just a person with a fish attached to their lower half. And yeah, that's almost definitely the case, but what creeps me out about this video is why it exists. I just have so many questions about this thing. There's just something very uncomfortable about this footage. Why was this created? Who is the person they've attached to this fish? Are they okay? And just what the hell is the music the uploader has added to the footage? It doesn't fit at all, and it just makes the whole thing even more strange and unsettling. During World War II, strange sightings were reported in the key islands of Indonesia, where Japanese soldiers stationed there encountered what they described as mermaids, or mermaid-like creatures. Local villagers familiar with these creatures called them orang ikan, or manfish, and they were said to stand at just under 5 feet tall, with pink salmon-colored skin, spikes along their spine and neck, and a mouth resembling that of a carp. Instead of a fishtail, they had long arms and frog-like legs, both ending in talons. So they're basically the creature from the Black Lagoon. The soldiers claimed to have spotted the creatures both in and out of the water. One story came from a troop exploring a lagoon who saw one of the things leap onto a rock, facing the soldiers and making a gurgling, burping noise. As another creature swam swiftly towards them, the soldiers fired shots at the rocks and water, but the creatures vanished before their eyes. Later, Sergeant Tero Horiba asked villagers to notify him if one of the creatures was ever captured. Eventually, the village chief presented a lifeless specimen to him. Creature about 4'9" tall, apparently matched the description perfectly. These photos are pretty famous in the world of deep-sea cryptids. They were taken by a man named Jeff Leitcher in 1998. He was a diver who claimed to have captured the first documented proof that mermaids exist. It all happened about 20 minutes off the coast of Kauai when Leitcher was diving with a group. While swimming with a pod of dolphins, he noticed what appeared to be a woman swimming alongside them. What caught his attention was that she was keeping up with the dolphins. Then the woman suddenly leapt out of the water, and Leitcher realized she had the lower half of a fish. The woman jumped twice before disappearing in the water, leaving the group completely stunned. Then, about an hour later, while Leitcher was photographing some underwater life, the same mermaid-like creature supposedly brushed up against him as she swam by. He quickly snapped a few pictures just as she turned around. I feel very lucky that I'm the one to finally prove to the world what people here have known for half a century. The Kauai Point mermaid is real, Leitcher said. In 2009, something strange started happening near Kiryat Yem, Israel. Dozens of locals claimed to see a mermaid off the shore at sunset. Over time, more and more people reported spotting the creature, describing it as resembling a young woman who would frequently visit the beach and perform tricks in the water. As the sightings gained more and more attention, the Israeli government even got involved, and they offered a $1 million reward for anyone who could provide proof of the mermaid's existence. No need to capture it, just an authentic photo would do. NBC sent a film crew to investigate. They stationed themselves at Kiryat Yam Beach, both above and below the water, filming around the clock. And one night they claimed to have spotted a human figure dipping into the water before disappearing. The research crew did their best to track the mermaid down, but they couldn't pinpoint its exact location. The footage was sent to Coastal Oceans Research in Los Angeles for further analysis. Michael Schacht, the center's director, reviewed the footage and said although it was impossible to unequivocally determine the figure in the footage, it still remains a viable option. In other words, it could be the real deal, but it's not definitively proven. Now, just what exactly is this sound? It was recorded by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, in 1991, and to this day nobody knows what it is, so, I mean, it's gotta be mermaids, right? The upsweep is one of those deep-sea mysteries that scientists still haven't been able to fully explain. What's cool is that unlike other weird ocean sounds that were only picked up once, the upsweep's been recorded every year since 1991. It seems to follow a seasonal pattern, getting louder during certain times of the year and then fading. But even after decades of listening, no one's been able to figure out exactly where it's coming from. Some researchers think it could be connected to volcanic activity deep under the ocean, but some others wonder if the sound might actually be coming from some unknown sea creature we haven't discovered yet. We always hear vague stories about mermaid sightings way back in the day, but do we have any specific accounts? Well, yes, quite a bit actually. In 1603, for example, a farmer named Thomas Reynolds saw what looked like a mermaid in the water off the coast of Wales near Pendine. He called over other people and together they watched the creature for about 3 hours. According to their description, the creature is partly human with the upper body of a woman, but from the waist down it looked like a fish. A man named William Saunders, another local, took the time to carefully examine what Reynolds and the other witnesses had seen. He listened to their stories and found their accounts believable enough to document everything. In fact, the sighting was taken seriously enough that in 1604, just a year later, the story showed up in the paper, along with an illustration to show what they described. The mermaid was recorded as a, quote, monstrous fish that appeared in the form of a woman from her waist upward. A guy in South Africa claimed to have spotted a mermaid-like creature in 2008 in the small village of Surbrak. A man named Daniel Cupido and his mother Dina were near the river around 11:30 at night when they heard a loud banging noise. Cupido said it sounded like someone bashing on a wall, so he went to check it out, and when he got closer, Cupido said he saw something strange thrashing. He described the figure as looking like a, quote, white woman with long black hair thrashing about in the water. Concerned, he tried to help, but as he approached, the creature let out this strange sound that his mother said was so sorrowful her heart couldn't take it anymore. Some believe that what they saw that night may have been what's called a caiman, and I don't mean like caiman like the alligator type animal. The caiman is said to be a half-human, half-fish creature that lives in deep river pools. Surbak tourism officer Maggie Gentry supported the group's story too, saying she personally knew the witnesses and made it clear that they were not people who drank heavily or made up stories. She said she trusted their word and believed that they genuinely saw something that night. Between 1887 and 1913, people along the coast of Deerness and the Orkney Islands kept spotting something strange in the water. Dozens of people, farmers, fishermen, and tourists, reported seeing the same thing over and over. The creature became known as the Deerness mermaid. One witness described it like this: "It is about 6 to 7 feet in length, has a little black head with neck, a snow-white body and 2 arms, and in swimming, it just appears like a human being. At times it will appear to be siding on a sunken rock and will wave and work its hands." Sightings like this became so frequent in the summer that it pretty much became a part of the local culture. People even wrote plays about it. And then in 1913, off the southeastern coast of Hawaii, another group had their own run-in with something that matched the same description. A fisherman named Ralph Taylor and his crew saw what they thought was a mermaid while checking their lobster pots. Taylor described the account as follows: "It rose out of the water to the height of 3 feet and looked like a lady with a shawl around her shoulders and streaming down her face." The Ningan is a mysterious sea creature that people in Japan have reported seeing over the last several years, and it sounds a little bit like a mermaid. Not the beautiful mermaid we all think of, but a mermaid-like creature. Ningan is said to live in the icy waters of the Antarctic and is described as completely white, human-shaped, and can grow up to 20 to 30 meters long. Witnesses say the creature sometimes has arms, legs, 5-fingered hands, fins, tails. One sighting came from a whale research ship. First, the crew thought they were looking at a foreign submarine, but when they got closer, realized what they were actually looking at was a living creature, which quickly disappeared back under the water. In November of 2007, MU Magazine published a Google Earth screenshot that seemed to capture the Ningan in the South Atlantic Ocean. There have been rumors that the Japanese government keeps detailed records of Ningan sightings, but hasn't made any of them public. In Okayama Prefecture in Japan, there's a mysterious mummy that's been unsettling people for centuries, and that's because it's supposedly a mermaid mummy. It's about 30 centimeters long, with the upper body of what looks like a human or humanoid and the lower body of a fish. It still has hair on its head, teeth, nails, and scales, and its face is frozen in what looks like this silent scream, with its hands pulled up toward its mouth. The artifact's been kept at a temple in Asakuchi, where some people worship it. The temple's chief priest compared the mummy to Amabie, a mythical creature that's said to protect people from plagues. Supposedly, it also grants immortality to whoever tastes its flesh. The mummy, I mean, and I'm not sure anyone's been brave enough to try. According to an old note stored with the mummy, it was supposedly caught in a fishing net somewhere off the coast of Tosa province between 1736 and 1741. Over time, it passed through several hands before ending up at the temple. For years, the mummy was displayed in a glass case for visitors, but now it's stored safely in a fireproof box to protect it from falling apart. Just recently though, researchers from Kurashiki University of Science and the Arts, along with some folklore experts, started studying the mummy for the first time. They're using tests like CT scans and DNA analysis to figure out what it's actually made of. Some mermaid mummies in Japan have been proven to be crafted fakes, usually made by stitching together parts of fish and monkeys, but this one hasn't been officially confirmed yet. Hiroshi Kinoshita, who helped to launch the project, says it's a chance to explore not just whether it's real, but what it means in Japanese folklore. For more than 50 years, people in Hawaii have claimed to see a mermaid swimming off the coast of Big Island, but the story is usually written off as local legends. That changed in 1998 when a dive boat captain named Jeff Leitcher said he not only saw the creature, but managed to capture it on film. Leitcher, who runs Jack's Diving Locker, was out on April 12, 1998 with 6 other divers about 20 minutes from Hawaii's Kona coast when something strange happened. I'd heard about her before, Leitcher said. Most of us who are out in these waters regularly have heard stories, but I'd never seen her until that morning. While heading out toward Kaiwi Point, a school of dolphins began swimming alongside their boat when one of the crew members suddenly started shouting and pointing at the water. I couldn't believe what I saw. There, not 10 feet from the bow, was what looked like a nude woman, Leitcher said. She had long flowing hair and one of the most beautiful faces I've ever seen. But there's no way a human being could be swimming so fast. She was keeping right up with the dolphins. Leitcher said the creature then jumped out of the water and said the entire lower half of her was, quote, covered with scales and tapered back into a huge fishtail. She jumped once more, then disappeared under the surface. According to Leitcher, all 10 people on the boat saw it as well, but that wasn't the end of it. About an hour later, while diving at the point, Leitcher said he had another close encounter. Suddenly, I felt something brush against my right leg. She shot by me like a streak of lightning, then turned and came back past me, swimming the other way. I just aimed the camera and started snapping pictures. I kept shooting as she broke the surface and swam away. These photos here were later analyzed by 3 separate photography labs, which all concluded that the images had not been altered or tampered with. I feel very lucky that I'm the one to finally prove to the world what people here have known for half a century, Leitcher said. The Kaiwi Point mermaid is real. Back in 2012, Zimbabwe ran into a strange problem at a couple of dam sites. Workers were so scared of mermaids that they just straight up abandoned their posts. Water Resources Minister Sam Sepepa Nkomo explained the situation during a Senate meeting, saying that workers believed mermaids were living in the reservoirs and pulling people underwater. They were so freaked out that they refused to come back. And hey, fair enough. Doesn't sound worth it to me either. There are plenty of jobs that don't involve getting dragged underwater and drowned by mythical creatures. To try and fix the issue though, the government brought in traditional chiefs to perform rituals to get rid of these mermaids. Nkomo said these ceremonies were done to, quote, exorcise mermaids believed to inhabit reservoirs. Now, thinking the problem might just be some local superstition, Nkomo also tried hiring foreign workers, figuring they wouldn't buy into the stories. But even those workers ended up reporting weird sightings and refused to continue the job. Some people, including Nkomo himself, wondered if dangerous water currents might have been to blame here instead of anything supernatural. But whatever the case, the government went ahead with the traditional rituals to calm everyone down, get work moving again. So I have no idea what really went on here, but what a bizarre story.
Japan's version of a mermaid is not the romantic beauty you'd expect. Known as the Ningyo, this creature is a mix of human and fish with a grotesque twist. Golden scales, sharp claws, and a monkey-like mouth filled with tiny human teeth. According to ancient legend, eating the flesh of these creatures grants eternal life, but catching one brings disaster. In the 1800s, fishermen supposedly caught one off the coast of Shikoku Island. The creature died shortly after, but was preserved and shown to a local official. And here's where things get even stranger. Reports say its remains were later hidden in a Buddhist temple to avoid bringing misfortune. In 2022, scientists analyzed a mummified mermaid stored in a shrine. Though DNA testing showed it was likely constructed from various animals, the preservation techniques suggest someone genuinely believed it was real. So why go to such lengths if it was all just a hoax? In Serbia's Lake Varana, locals whisper about the Mermaid of Black Lake, a pale humanoid figure with long black hair that emerges on foggy mornings. In the early 2000s, a group of hikers claimed to have seen the creature from a distance, describing it as female in shape but with unblinking white eyes and scales across its arms. When they tried to approach, it vanished into the water with a splash. What's eerie is that locals had told nearly identical stories for decades, even before modern media could influence the narrative. In 2013, an Icelandic diving team exploring an underwater cave near Greenland captured something odd on camera. The footage, which was briefly circulated online before being lost, showed a humanoid figure with fins darting behind a rock. The diver filming could be heard screaming underwater before the camera cut out. Though skeptics cried hoax, the divers themselves, experienced professionals, stood by what they saw. Some believe the footage was confiscated due to its implications, and it doesn't help that government bodies reportedly shut down that cave to public access not long after. In the 1940s, fishermen off the coast of Benin, West Africa, claimed to have found what looked like a mermaid corpse tangled in their net. The body, which reportedly had webbed hands, fish-like skin, and a mostly human skull, was taken to local authorities. But within days, it was removed by officials and allegedly flown to France for study. Nothing was ever released to the public, and what makes this case so strange is how many unrelated locals swore they saw it and how quickly it was covered up. Some claim it was part of the Mamiwata legend, a powerful mermaid spirit worshipped across West Africa. In 1967, a ferry captain off the coast of British Columbia saw something on the rocks that stunned him. He wasn't alone. Passengers on board reported seeing a blonde-haired mermaid lounging on the rocks near Main Island. Photos were taken and one even made it to a local newspaper. Some said it was a prank, but others insisted that it was real. In fact, the town embraced the story so much they started selling mermaid souvenirs. The strange thing, no one ever came forward to claim it as a hoax. No models, no performers, no confessions, just a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. In 2009, 1989, residents of a quiet coastal town in Israel called Kiryat Yam started reporting something completely bizarre: a mermaid seen lounging on rocks at sunset before diving into the sea. Dozens of witnesses claimed to see the same thing: a female figure with pale skin, a fishtail, and long dark hair. The sightings became so frequent and credible that the local government did something no one ever expected. They offered a $1 million reward for anyone who could prove the mermaid's existence. One man said he watched her do a backflip before vanishing. Another woman swore she saw her tail slap the water. News outlets across the world picked up the story, camera crews came, tourists showed up, and yet no one was able to capture solid proof. But the stories didn't stop, and here is the weirdest part: the reward still stands to this day unclaimed. When Christopher Columbus spotted land in the Caribbean, he wasn't just discovering new territory, he may have discovered a mermaid. In his 1493 ship log, Columbus described seeing 3 creatures rise from the water with the upper bodies of women and tails like fish. His exact words: "They are not as pretty as they are depicted, for somehow in the face they look like men." Most historians chalk this up to a manatee sighting, but that doesn't fully make sense. Columbus was an experienced navigator, he knows what manatees looked like, and why would he mention their faces at all if it was just a sea cow? What makes this more intriguing is that other sailors on his crew also reported similar sightings. These weren't isolated events, they were shared, consistent, and written down in one of the most famous explorer journals of all time. Could Columbus have stumbled onto something we've since lost? In the rough, stormy waters between the Scottish mainland and the Outer Hebrides lies a stretch known as the Minch, and sailors have feared it for generations. The reason? A strange and sinister race of sea beings called the Blue Men. These weren't graceful mermaids, these were blue-skinned, human-sized aquatic beings who were said to control storms and drown ships. Legend says they would swim up to a boat and shout poetry or riddles at the captain. If the captain failed to answer in rhyme, the Blue Men would overturn the vessel. While this sounds like classic mythology, here's a very strange thing. This exact story has been passed down for hundreds of years with very little variation. Sailors in that area regularly experience unexplainable equipment failure, freak waves, and vanishings. To this day, some Scottish fishermen won't sail through this area without leaving an offering in the water. Superstition or something they're too afraid to talk about? You decide. In 2012, construction crews working at 2 separate dam sites in Zimbabwe refused to return to work. The reason? They claimed that they were being harassed and even physically attacked by mermaids living in the water. This wasn't just a local rumor, it reached Zimbabwe's House of Assembly. High-ranking government officials confirmed the stoppage and admitted traditional healers were being brought in to appease the water spirits. The mermaids, known in the local Shona culture, are believed to live in deep pools and protect sacred water sources. Locals describe them as beautiful but dangerous beings who can bless or curse anyone who crosses them. Despite pressure, workers wouldn't return until ceremonies were held, and after the rituals, work resumed without further incident. That kind of mass fear, especially among adults working a government project, doesn't just come from total imagination. Something in those waters had to have scared them. In 1730, Hans Egede, a Danish-Norwegian missionary, wrote about something he saw while sailing near Greenland, a creature that defied explanation. He described it as having a human head and torso with a fish-like tail. According to Egede, the creature rose beside the boat, stared directly at the crew, then slowly sank into the sea. What makes this account so unsettling is who Hans Egede was: a serious, devout man whose writings were focused on converting Inuit populations, not really fantasy. He wasn't known for exaggeration or tall tales. In fact, many of his missionary accounts are painfully dry. So for him to suddenly document a mermaid, well, it's a bit odd. Historians today still include Egede's account in discussions of unexplained ocean phenomena. He even sketched the creature in later versions of his log. He either hallucinated or he saw something that he really couldn't explain.
In 2012, Zimbabwe found itself caught up in a very strange case involving mermaids that had workers fleeing from their dam sites in the country. Water Resources Minister Sam Sipepa Nkomo addressed the issue during a Senate committee meeting, revealing that mermaids had been scaring away government workers at dam sites, or that's what workers had been saying. According to Nkomo, the workers were so terrified by these supposed creatures that they abandoned their posts, refusing to return. Nkomo shared that traditional chiefs had been called in to, quote, perform rituals to exorcise the mermaids believed to inhabit reservoirs. The mermaids, often described as female creatures with fishtails, were said to frighten the workers by allegedly pulling people under the water. In response to the workers' fears, Nkomo had even attempted to hire white personnel, assuming that they wouldn't be familiar with the mermaid legends, but they too then started reporting strange sightings and would refuse to work on the project. Now, there was skepticism from some, obviously, including Minister Nkomo, who thought that maybe the strange cases could have been caused by hazardous water currents, but the government decided to carry out the traditional rites to calm the fears of the local workers anyway. This footage comes from Marginal Media on YouTube, who explained that he'd captured the footage while diving in the Great Barrier Reef. He'd been testing out an underwater camera when he spotted the creature, only he didn't realize what he'd filmed until later when reviewing the footage on his laptop. At the time, he'd been too busy futzing with the camera, but felt something coming from behind him. He managed to shoot it, but at the time, while underwater with, low visibility like this, he figured what he'd seen was just a normal fish. Now, he was adamant that what he'd filmed was not from a movie or anything like that, and that he hadn't filmed it in a controlled environment like a swimming pool. He says it's 100% genuine, so believe him or not. In 1809, a woman named Miss McKay from the town of Thurso in Scotland claimed to have witnessed a real mermaid while walking along the beach. According to her account, in the Kentish Gazette newspaper, she had an up-close view of the creature and described it in great detail, saying, the face seemed plump and round, the eyes and nose were small, and the former were of light grey color, and the mouth was large, and from the shape of the jawbone, which seemed straight, the face looked short. She also said that the mermaid's forehead, nose, and chin were white, but the side of the face was a bright pink. The mermaid's hair, which Miss McKay described as thick and long, with a, quote, grey, oily cast, appeared to be a challenge for the creature as the waves often threw it over its face. She said the creature seemed bothered by this, frequently using both its hands to push the hair back and rub its throat, almost as if trying to remove any dirt from the water. On June 4, 1857, two Scottish sailors, John Williamson and John Cameron, reported spotting a strange creature off the coast of Britain. While at sea, they saw a creature in the water that they described as resembling a woman. According to their account, we distinctly saw an object about 6 yards distant from us in the shape of a woman, with full breast, dark complexion, comely face, and fine hair hanging in ringlets over the neck and shoulders. It sounds like these guys were out of the water a little too long with nothing but each other. Anyway, they described the creature as being submerged up to its middle, with its head above the water, gazing at them and even shaking its head, going on to write, the weather being fine, we had a full view of it, and that for 3 or 4 minutes. And finally, in 1967, near Main Islands in British Columbia, something strange happened. A ferry filled with tourists spotted a blonde-haired mermaid-like creature sitting on the beach, eating a fish. One witness even described her as attractive with dimples. To top it off, a photo was taken showing a woman with blonde hair and the lower half of a porpoise. Later that week, another mermaid sighting apparently occurred, but by then, skepticism was growing and a lot of people understandably started dismissing the sightings as hoaxes. Charles White, owner of the Undersea Gardens, a ship doubling as an underwater aquarium, offered a $25,000 reward for the mermaid's capture. He even promised room and board, plus special combs for the mermaid's comfort. So quite an odd offer, but he was desperate to prove that she was real. Unfortunately, after a few weeks, the story lost steam and the mermaid sightings faded into local legend.